everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my sewing room. Today we're going to look at how to get dressed in the Edwardian era in an outfit such as this. This is an approximately 1906-ish jumper dress. I was inspired not only by this dress to make this outfit, but I wanted to do a super quick and easy project. So about a month later, I finished said project, so I made this in that style and with a shirtwaist kind of also inspired by that shirtwaist in that extant dress. And I will do an entire other video about how I made this. One video that you've probably already seen is the Project in a Day corset cover video, which I have underneath all of this, and you will see in the getting dressed part of this video. But I will do a video that goes over how to make everything else, especially because I really made a lot of it not using any patterns, hence why it took so long. But today's video is just how to get dressed. So there are several layers that go into this outfit. I'm wearing bloomers and chemise, though they would have worn combinations. And then I'm also wearing stockings and boots, of course, and corset, corset cover, bum pad, petticoat, shirtwaist blouse, and the jumper, and then hat, and I was wearing some gloves earlier, and you'll see those in the video. So let's jump into getting dressed in the Edwardian era in an outfit that's approximately 1906.
First, the stockings. These particular stockings are actually bamboo blend that come from Sock Dreams, which is my favorite store for historical socks. I will link them below in the description. Then, boots. These boots are Phantasma boots, a little upgrade from one of my previous videos. I have now purchased new boots, and I love these boots. They're very comfortable and they last for a couple of years, or a few years even though they are relatively inexpensive costume style boots. Also, always remember shoes before corset. You can also see my bloomers in this shot. These are just costume style bloomers. Edwardians really would have been wearing combinations, which were split crotch drawers that were connected to a camisole type garment. Next, the corset. I made this corset as part of this project using the truly Victorian TV EO1 pattern for the 1903 corset. I highly recommend this pattern as this corset went together very easily. You will have to excuse me, as it is much easier to lace up a corset when you are looking in the mirror, and a little bit harder when my back is away from the mirror and towards the camera. This corset is supposed to be worn over both bust and bum padding, though my corset does not allow enough room for bum padding. These are the bust pads. They go inside the corset below your bust, and they help to actually support the bust since the corset doesn't really do that. With the Edwardian S-bend corset, you use padding to help yourself fill out the corset instead of using the corset to actually shape your body. Thus, the S-bend shape that people think looks so uncomfortable is actually one of the most comfortable corsets out there. And that's the corset layer. I'll talk more about how I actually made this corset in the upcoming video I will be doing about how I made the entire outfit. This is the corset cover. Edwardian corset covers of this era tended to have lots of ruffles across the bust, which would give that pigeon look that is so common for this era. I've done an entire video on the making of this corset cover, which I will link to both above and below in the description if you have not seen that already. This was my one-day make challenge. And that is the corset cover. Now it's time to do something about this hair. My hair is naturally curly and frizzy, which comes in very handy for the Edwardian period. Nevertheless, I'm going to start by smoothing the fronts of my hair with a straightening iron. Then I'm going to apply some of my favorite Lay Right pomade, just a little bit, which I will rub between my hands and smooth all over my hair around the crown of my head. In other words, both in the front of my head, the sides of my head, and even in the back of my head, but all kind of that outside layer is where you need to be putting the pomade. Then, using a rat tail comb or brush, you're going to part your hair all around the crown of your head so that you have sort of a ring of hair around your head that you can use with a little bit of hair centered right at the top of your head that you're going to ignore and save for later. This doesn't have to be a super neat parting. One of the nice things about Edwardian hair is that they kind of liked the whole messy bun look. That's good for me in this tutorial, considering it's very hard to use my camera as a mirror. So as you may notice as we go through, it's a bit on the messy side. Once you have that center section of your hair parted away, go ahead and just clip it out of your way for now. Then you're going to tease all the rest of your hair. You can tease it really as much as you want. I just did a little bit of teasing since I'm not going to be wearing this in my hair all day, but you want to do enough teasing that it will hold itself together and give you a little bit of volume. Then take a yaki braid type hairpiece in a similar color to your hair. It does not have to match. Twist it around, and you're going to put that twist around your head. You want it to be kind of loose around your head so that it almost comes just above your forehead really, and pin it into place. I recommend using a few pins in the back and 1 or 2 pins around the front of your head just to make sure that your yaki braid stays in place. Then you're going to take that layer of hair that you previously teased and you're going to pull it gently up and over the hairpiece braid. You want to do this gently so that you don't wind up moving the hairpiece inside. You really want that nice sort of bulbous bulge that the Edwardians loved right around your head. When you're pinning here, make sure that you don't pin right on the other side of the yaki braid. You want to pin it kind of center where that hair is tucked away that we're going to use for later, because that way it will be covered by your bun. Continue pulling the hair all around your head and pinning it towards the center. The back section of hair can be pulled up even looser than the front and sides of your hair, because that will really give you that sort of nice poofy back look that the Edwardians liked. Don't be like me though and miss covering a whole section of the yaki braid on the side. Luckily, it's a fairly close match to my hair, but I didn't notice until later that I had missed this whole section that you're seeing on camera right now. When you're pulling up the hair that's in back, you can unclip the hair that we had previously clipped out of the way and combine the two and kind of twist that together into a little flat bun. Now, if you have very long or I suppose very thick hair, you could probably just take this coil and make the bun at the top of your head out of your own hair. However, I have pretty thin hair and it's just a medium length, so I really don't have enough hair to make the bun out of my own hair. So the solution is we will just use another hairpiece for the bun. Unfortunately, I'm in need of a dye job right now, and my hairpieces don't quite match my hair. But since I'll be wearing a hat with this outfit anyway, it doesn't really matter that much. However, even when wearing a hat, you don't want to forego this bun because it really helps hold your hat in place on your hair. I'm using my favorite big 4-inch wig pins to pin this bun into place, one on each side of the bun. This is what we will put our hat pins through to secure the hat, so that even if it's a windy day, our hat's not going anywhere. Once you've attached your bun, smooth up any parts that might be sticking out or any flyaway hairs, and if you're me, completely ignore that big old section of yaki braid that I just completely missed covering. And that's it for your hair. Of course, this hairstyle looks much better once you add your lovely Edwardian hat. Ta-da! Just right. Now, we probably ought to finish getting dressed. Next up is the bum pad. The bum pad gives that nice Edwardian rounded tush area and is tied loosely around the waist so that the padding sits really over the bum instead of right up at the waist. I prefer to tie my bow on the side instead of the front so that it doesn't create any bumps. Next up is the petticoat. This petticoat is made out of Pimatex cotton, which is a wonderful crisp cotton with quite a bit of body, but it's not too heavy. It has ruffles at the bottom, a couple tiers of ruffles actually, and I made this a few years ago to go with my 1890s outfits, but it works just right for the early Edwardian period as well. The petticoat closes up the back with a couple of hooks and bars. It gives a wonderful swoosh and spin and gives the proper shape for this silhouette. Next up is the shirtwaist blouse. This shirtwaist blouse was made especially for this project, and I will go over the making of the blouse in more detail in a future video. The shirtwaist blouse buttons up the back, so I have enlisted my roommate Molly to help me with all of the buttons. You get a nice view of the peplum at the bottom of the shirtwaist here. This helps the shirtwaist stay tucked into the skirt. Instead of having buttons all the way to the very top, the collar actually closes with hooks and thread bars. And that is the shirtwaist blouse, all covered in lace and embroidery and pin tucks and little red velvet bows. Now it's time for the jumper. The trickiest thing with this jumper, like most jumpers of any era, is making sure you get your arms and your head in the right holes between the right straps. Mind your hair! Molly will again be helping me with the closures on this jumper. It closes up the center back of the waistband with 3 hooks and bars, and then the jumper strap on the left is buttoned into place. Once your jumper is on, make sure to tuck in your shirtwaist blouse so that it is as voluminous or not as voluminous as you would prefer. And that is the jumper dress. Now, don't forget your accessories. This hat was completed for another project, but just happens to match perfectly. I am securing it with 2 hat pins. If I were to go out walking on a windy-ish day, I would add a 3rd hat pin, just for security's sake. Much better with a hat. But wait! Don't forget your gloves. These are vintage gloves, but I love wearing them with many of my costumes, particularly ones with 3/4 sleeves. The bows on them are just darling. And that is the entire jumper dress outfit from approximately 1906 or 1907.
Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a video. I post to YouTube about once a week, but in the meantime, I also do post about once every day to Instagram. So please also go check out my Instagram at Lady Rebecca Fashions. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next video. Happy sewing!